New York is like a slice of pizza.
How so?
That's it.
That's that's it.
It's the Parlor with Harris and Myles.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are yet again. I think this is week 29. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've been sticking with us for the full 29 weeks, God help you. If you haven't, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today is no different than any other day. I have a very special guest with us today. Well, while we're still in production on Writer's Block, the feature that I'm directing, I'm, taking on some of the guests, making some of the people I'm working with on this show. So with no better guests to have than the people I'm working with. I'm having such a wonderful time with. So today I'm going to bring on someone that I only got the chance to work with a little while. It was a fleeting day as we're still in production here. The day passed, but we're still shooting. So I hope I get the chance to work with him again. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce to you former pro wrestler, stuntman turned actor here in Los Angeles, Kenneth Ray Clark, aka Casey. My beat's a little different. I usually do a yeah, I don't know why it was different this time.
No, I like it, man.
But dude, how are you?
I'm doing okay, man. Let me bring this a little bit closer. Is
There
that
you
good
go.
right there?
Yeah, that's good for me. How about you?
Oh yeah, it's good for me if
There
it's
we
good
go.
for you.
Let's do a little more.
A little bit more.
Oh, you know what? It's actually, I think it's.
Yeah,
There
bring
we
it
go, 'cause
lower.
I think I saw it. It might be blocking your face now, but that's
Oh,
good.
well, we can't
We're
have
good there.
that. Come on.
No, we're good there. So, dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
I really appreciate it. I know a little bit about you because we worked together, but I didn't get the chance to learn too much. You're dressed pretty snazzy. I love the whole get up here. I appreciate you coming on and looking good.
Thanks, dude.
Showing me up. But dude, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you kind of started this industry here? And I want to know. I think people, when I said the former pro wrestler here, that might be an elephant in the room. Let's talk a little bit about that. When you
Okay.
say former pro wrestler, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and that is a huge, huge wrestling town. And that's where kind of, the North and the South all kind of converge and everything. And, the South, like wrestling is like a religion, right? And so my mom, she was young. She started going to the matches, and then eventually she started dating some of the wrestlers. And there was a tag team known as the Fabulous Ones.
Would we know who your mom is?
No, because she really wasn't really on screen a lot. She was a valet, so she'd walk him to the ring, and then after that, she kind of she'd cheat for him, like throw in brass knuckles or go
Okay.
against the ropes, and she'd trip him up and everything.
So
but
what was the crew called that you rolled with?
so the Fabulous Ones,
The Fabulous Ones.
Stan
And
Stan Lane and Steve Kern.
people would know who those people are.
Yeah, they're a big deal, and Stan Lane was the one she was dating for a long time, and then eventually, I think one night, she knew Ric Flair for a while, and his ring valet didn't show up, and so he's the one who trained Stan Lane, her boyfriend, and so he was like, "Hey, would you mind walking out to the ring with me?" And so she started doing that, and she was in it for a little bit, but then when I got older, they would come through town, and she would have called Rick or something and said, "Hey, can you get us backstage?" And so I always grew up with it, and I'd go back there and just be able to meet like my heroes and stuff. Anyway,
That's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
that's
oh,
what
man.
really inspired you into that industry, I guess.
oh, for sure. And I love just the thought of like how these guys have to stay in character and keep it. Are you familiar with the term kayfabe?
Kayfabe?
Kayfabe.
I'm not, and why don't you tell the audience what that is?
Sure. So kayfabe was a term that back in the day you would say if there were fans around, you'd say, "Hey, keep it kayfabe." So like if we're not supposed to like each other, if there are fans around, and I go, "Hey, kayfabe," that means you and I have to now pretend like we don't like each other.
Okay.
And keep it kayfabe. You stay in character.
Where does
right?
that originate from?
So I'm not sure where that term, or most of these actually originate from carnival terms. Like the term mark. Like if someone's a mark for somebody, it means like, oh, they've fallen for the gimmick, or that they like them a lot.
Now I'm curious what this kayfabe is. I'm going to look this up.
Yeah, well, like the term mark, if you were a mark for somebody, it means you fell for the gimmick. Well, back in the day, when guys would come up to the tent, if they had like really good clothes on, or some of the carnies had seen them spending a lot of money, they would take chalk and they'd mark you on the back of your jacket. So then when you're walking through the tent, they'd be like, hey, we've got a special show for you over here. Just a little
it's
bit
from
extra
carnivals,
money.
like you said.
Is it? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, look at that.
Can you tell me like what the
1980s, the origin is complete. It's really uncertain, but it's often said to have risen in the American traveling carnivals. One explanation interprets the word as an alteration of "be fake" written backwards.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Oh, cool.
That's
Kayfabe,
interesting.
be
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. But I mean, you had guys like
So if you like wrestling, kayfabe, actually the origin is "be fake" backwards.
Exactly. Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, there's guys like The Undertaker who, people didn't think he was dead, but he wanted people to think he was kind of fucked up. So he would not even order like at a restaurant. He wouldn't even order going up to like a takeout place because he didn't want people to hear him talk like a normal person. So that's considered like kayfabe, keeping that character.
So why did you get into wrestling again?
Well, like I said, I loved that idea of it, that these guys keep a character. And then in my hometown, we had something called, I don't know why it's called the Ohio Valley, because it's in Kentucky. But
what is the Ohio Valley?
Ohio Valley is just this piece of lowland that's in Kentucky, and then they eventually that's where Louisville was built. But Ohio Valley Wrestling is where WWE, that was their developmental. So they would send all the guys there: Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena. My mom actually went on a few dates with Randy Orton.
Did The Rock go there?
The Rock did not, but The Rock was trained by a good friend of my mom. His name is Bill Dundee. And he trained him.
Was he related to Crocodile?
I think it was actually the inspiration for Crocodile Dundee, because he's from Scotland and he grew up in Australia. So if you can imagine that accent from a 5-foot-tall wrestler.
Let's put some shrimp on the Barbie, laddie. That would be the accent, I guess.
Okay,
right?
see, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, something weird like that.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, so that school just being available, I went there to train. And I trained under a guy named Rip Rogers, and he was an old school wrestler and stuff. And so that's where I went there to train, and I was intending on going into WWE from there. And then I ended up breaking my back in 2 places, and I still won the match. So, I mean, that was good. But broke my back in 2 places. It didn't hurt at first. And I woke up the next morning just like, oh God, I can't move. Couldn't move at all or anything. And so from there, it just was a thing of going, this is really not a smart thing to do, to keep going, because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And when you have a back injury like that, that's right at your core, it's not like injuring, an elbow or a shoulder or something like that. You just can't function. And I remember the doctor, I feel bad. Like if you're listening, if you were a doctor at the Louisville Spine Institute, I'm sorry, because he just was like, hey, you're not going to be able to do anything. You might as well start using your mind. Just how he said it, I got pissed off, and I ended up picking him up and slamming him against the wall, like by his stupid little lapels, because I was like, man, don't, like, I mean, I'm sitting here crying. Like, I was just like, a kid.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and he just had bad bedside manner. So from there, I just thought, well, what's the next thing we can do? I can just kind of get into performing. And next step would probably be acting. And, just performing is something I always felt, I'm not sure if I'm good at it or not, but I always felt competent compared to anything else. So I just, wanted to do that. And so that's what kind of led me out of wrestling. And I still love it. But I just couldn't do that. And it wasn't feasible to keep going with that injury.
Yeah, I mean, we have a fucking broken back. Yeah, you can't really wrestle too much, Casey.
Right. Well, at least not good, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but there's a great acting school that's in Louisville. I think, I don't know if you've ever heard of Actors Theater of Louisville, but it's a great theater, and they have like a bunch of Shakespeare shows and stuff a year. And I was already into theater and movies and everything, but one thing was, when my back was broken, I had to go on something called home hospital.
Home hospital?
Yeah, so I couldn't go to school because I couldn't sit there.
Did the nurses jerk you off too?
They were all male nurses, and that's not
doesn't
a no.
change my
That's not a no.
question.
Yeah.
That doesn't change my question, Casey.
Well, I mean, you need something for pain relief, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So I mean, that's more of a holistic approach.
Yeah.
For sure. But I'd stay home and I just would watch movies, and my grandfather, who was like my best friend, he would sit home with me, and he had a stroke when I was 2, and he lived with me until he passed away a few years ago. But we always had a connection where we didn't really have to talk, and so I, since I was little, would impersonate older movies for him and stuff, and get him to laugh. But he was really the one who would sit down with me all day, and we'd watch movies and things like that, and kind of break apart. Why does this work? Why does this not work? And stuff, and he would work with me on auditions and things like that, and he's passed away now, but I really owe a lot of everything that I've kind of turned into to him, because I wouldn't have been able to have the confidence or anything like that. And also I'm sure you can relate, like being guys that are our age, you see movies that are older and you study them and stuff, and people now like that are our age, unless they are really into the industry, don't see movies from the 1940s and 1950s and stuff like that. They don't really know a lot of older
I don't know.
actors.
I don't sit around with them to see what they're doing, but
Yeah.
based on the way they move, it doesn't reflect that of individuals who do watch movies from those times.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like people like I'll talk to people that are my age, and I'm like, how do you not know who Tony Curtis is? How's that even possible?
Well, I mean, I don't think you should judge, because
Sure.
everyone has their own path, but...
Well, I guess it more shows the stuff that I like.
Well, yeah,
more than
it's
anything,
just, well, everyone has their process of getting into things too, but I do agree that you gotta have knowledge in the field that you're in.
Right.
Now, what that knowledge encompasses depends on the user and the person gaining it or not gaining it, but I don't know. Like, for me, I don't know who Tony Curtis is, bro.
You don't know who Tony
No.
Curtis is? Okay.
Who the fuck is that?
Some Like It Hot.
But you're not gonna judge
right.
me.
No.
And if you did, you wouldn't know me, but you're not judging me because you know me. You've seen me work. You've
Right.
seen my work ethic. You know what I can do. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like knowledge is important, but if you don't know a person, that doesn't merit,
No, not at all. And you're absolutely right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes more from me being a movie snob too, for sure.
Yeah.
Like than
That
anything else.
I could agree with.
Right,
because
right.
I'll look at someone, I'll be like, you didn't know Chris Pine was in Star Trek?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for sure I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, who is Tony Curtis? Tell me who that is.
Tony Curtis was in. He's old school actor. He played Houdini. He played the Boston Strangler. But I think where he got really popular was Marilyn Monroe's first movie was Some Like It Hot, and it's he and I believe Jack Lemmon, and it's a fucking hilarious movie, and it holds up now, great, and it's unbelievable because I think the movie was made in 1955, and they are in a band. They're two performers that are in a band. They kind of travel around, and they're in, I think, Chicago, and they witness these gangsters commit a murder, and they have to get out of town. And the only way they can get out of town is there's a traveling women's group that is leaving on this train, so they have to dress up like women, and they have to, pretend that they're women this whole time. And man, it holds up unbelievably well, and just like at the time being able to like
it was a wild idea at the time.
oh for sure.
Yeah,
and
I like it.
And it like tackles things like sexism and things like
Yeah,
that,
for
like
sure.
like, oh, we didn't know women had to go through this, and it
Sounds
does it
similar to how, for my Elden Ring fans, Godric the Grafted escaped the Halig tree.
Is it really? Because I
You don't know anything about Elden Ring, do you?
I don't.
So don't worry about what I'm saying.
I want to learn more about Elden Ring, but I'm still dude, I'm
Why?
still going because I've heard great things about the game and everything. I'm still working my way through Assassin's Creed.
You know
though.
what? Jesus Christ.
I'm
you know
sorry.
what? I'm judging you.
Dude, I hope Gladiator 2 does well, but I'm not.
You hope it does well, or you hope it's a good movie?
I hope it is a good movie more than anything, man.
Yeah,
But
I hope that
just,
too, because that's how you honor a franchise more than anything in an IP.
Do you know that the first one only had Russell Crowe only had 84 lines of dialogue?
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like 84, that's it.
I must have missed it when I was staring at the propane tank in the in the chariot race.
Oh, was there really a propane tank? In the
You didn't
chariot?
see it?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
No.
they had propane tanks back then.
Oh, did they? I missed that in history class too.
Yeah, I
Wow.
missed it too, and so did Who wrote?
Ridley Scott. Or no, was it Ridley Scott?
Was it?
No. Who was? Shoot.
And you're talking about you don't know who fucking Tony Carson is, and we don't even know who fucking directed Gladiator. Give me a break.
Fuck
bro.
off. Shit. Who
See?
Was it? I think it was Ridley Scott.
Best to just not dwell on it and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, sure. All right.
So anyway, yeah, there is a canister in there, like a propane canister.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's there.
But have you ever seen I think there's a shot in Troy where there's a plane.
I knew you were gonna say Troy for some reason.
Really? Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that's one of the big ones too. The plane in Troy.
The plane just coming out.
They had planes there in Troy.
I didn't know Brad Pitt tore his Achilles tendon when he was making that movie, and I was like, that's fucking ironic as hell.
He tore it in the fight scene against Achilles. I'm kidding.
Well, he is Achilles. So
I thought he was Troy.
No, Troy's the city, bro.
I don't fucking remember, dude. I saw that shit in 2004 when it came out.
Troy's a fucking city, bro. No, he apparently was going
I get it confused with Alexander.
Alexander, man, that
with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, everyone's in that. I didn't know the fucking Hound from Game of Thrones was in that.
That was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Except just a lot gayer.
Yeah, definitely a lot gayer.
And not in a bad way either. It's Jared Leto.
Why would that be bad?
No, I mean it's Jared Leto, bro. Who's not going to fall for him? I mean, come on.
I'm not going to fall for him.
All right, well, I mean, you got higher standards than me then, I guess, but...
Some say I look like him.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. I could see that. You got the hair, man. You got the luscious hair. Yeah. I tried to grow my hair long.
I think he's a great singer. I like his band.
He is a great singer, man. He's a great singer. I've heard some stuff on him lately about him starting a cult or something or some shit like that, and I was just like, that's whatever. I don't fucking care.
Okay.
But
have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun in your cult.
Yeah, have fun in your cult. I mean, shit.
This is Sparta!
Bam!
Yeah.
Dude.
Fucking awesome.
I didn't know the Spartan, that's one of the parts that's actually true, is he did kick him down the well, and apparently the Spartans sent 2 Spartans.
We don't really know what's actually true.
Well, apparently they sent 2 Spartans to Xerxes, to pay back and be like, "Yo, please kill us," and he was like, "Nah, no."
If we have the internet in our disposal right now, and we still get the facts wrong,
yeah,
you're gonna tell me that these stories are accurate, bro?
Right,
I don't know, man.
Dude,
I don't know if they can travel thousands of years in history.
And who gives a shit? It's such a good story, man. It's just
a great story.
Yeah,
but we use your imagination, you know. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about how you got into acting. I know because I know you hurt your back in wrestling. So was that that moment of transition where you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna act. It's the next, it's the other thing I love most because wrestling is pretty much acting.
Sure.
Just getting punched in the face at the same time. You know, so what was it for you?
Well, yeah. So I absolutely wanted to perform. I did know that for sure, and I had done a lot of stage stuff. When I was 13, I started going. I called up an agency myself and wanted to get involved in just doing anything that I could. And I started doing commercials and stuff like that. And then I started, doing stuff with my high school and going on stage and everything. Now, at this time, I was amateur wrestling, and then when I was 18, I was planning on going into Ohio Valley to train. But the one thing that turned me on to acting a lot was, again, I didn't really feel competent in a lot of things, and I'd done a couple of plays on stage and stuff, and then they had this young writers, playwright competition, and it was nationwide. And I remember I'd written a play, and my teacher, her name is Tiffany Smith, ironically, she was the last person from Kentucky to win it, which was whenever she would have been going to high school. And she didn't tell me, but she turned my play in, and it was out of 40,000 entries in the nation, I won. And so then that play got to be put on at a theater called Actors Theater in Louisville, and I got to co-direct. But I mean, they had an actual director, and I was really young, but I got to go there and direct. And I mean, I had been seeing plays in that theater since I was 4 years old, so that was a big deal for me. And then they had the same competition the next year, and I won it again. And so that really kind of kicked off where I was like, okay, well, I'm not terrible at this. I can...
But you wrote it.
Yeah, I wrote it, and then I ended up performing it.
So you just paid no mind to how good of a writer you were. You're just like, I'm going to act.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Really? And you're still, because you didn't tell me you write it all, so you're still paying no mind to how good of a writer you are, evidently.
I would write. If something came along, I would love to write, but I
What does that mean?
I mean,
you're supposed to write stuff yourself.
Well, I've written a few...
No one told me to write You see all that? No one told me to write that.
I don't know. I've never really felt competent at writing, but
You just said you won out of 40,000. Like, that's insane.
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, she turned it in for me. I didn't know it was good or not. I just didn't. But I mean, that's the thing, right? You don't know if it's good or not. It really shouldn't matter if it's good or not. If you think it's good, but if I had like some money behind me and some stuff, if I knew how to get in, like, see, that's the thing is I have no idea how to approach
What do you mean
that
if I
avenue.
had some money behind me? If I could, what does that mean?
If I knew it could be made into something, I would definitely do it. It's like,
so you're just not willing to try because you don't think it could be made into something?
I don't have any ideas right now that I think could be made, and I have no idea how to go down that avenue. Like, I mean, I have no idea how to work the logistics side that, I'm sure you have to go through of, like, writing something and then getting it to be able to go into production and things like that.
Well, it goes down to how bad you want it, and
Right.
no one told me how to do these things.
Sure.
I just did it.
Right.
And I made mistakes along the way, and I'm still figuring it out. No one knows. I've said this before on my podcast.
Mhm.
The real fucking truth about reality is, bro, Casey, I'm gonna be real with you. No one knows how to do anything.
Yeah.
Seriously, nobody knows how to actually do anything. There's no real way to do anything, especially in this industry. There's no way to do anything.
I see.
You just fucking do it and figure it out.
No.
And I'm telling you, real fucking gold right here. And I say it to them because, like, anybody who really wants to listen, this will resonate with them.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, that's a fucking secret. You just do it. No one knows what the fuck they're doing.
Do you ever like feel like you have like and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like imposter syndrome, like when you're doing something like that? I mean, have you ever felt, or at least in the early days, did you ever feel like I have to pretend like I know what I'm doing?
I don't know about the word pretend.
Right.
I don't know about that.
Well,
But
hopefully you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're
with it,
saying,
yeah.
but it's not. I don't like, because it's not that. You have to, in order to do it. It's just, you can't be afraid.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. It's
Yeah.
not about pretending to be, because you're not pretending anything. You're literally doing it, but you're following. What I do is I follow my heart.
Right.
So my first time directing a feature film, you told me I look like I've been directing for 20 years.
Yeah.
My first time directing a feature film.
Yeah.
And it's because I just followed my heart. I knew what the movie needed. I know how to talk to actors. I am an actor myself.
Sure.
You just use your skills and you just use your common sense. And there's no book on how to be a director. Like, there are books on how to be a director, but if you want to read them, they can help. But
You just have to.
don't make your life based off that. You take facts and then you create your own hybrid of whatever works for you.
I feel like that's got a lot to do with a lot of things, especially in this industry. Is
Writing, directing.
you just have to do it.
Producing, you need to know people.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
And you need to have really thick skin to produce as well.
Do you really? Now, see, that surprises me because I always
Yeah.
thought the producers are kind of the ones who inflict the damage.
Well,
the pain
that's
on you.
because they're producers that are established. But to become producers, you need to really, figure shit out. You need to be a problem solver.
Now, when you were because you've been acting for what, 15?
16 years.
16 years. How long did you, because I think if I wasn't so focused on acting, I would love to start writing and getting into that. How long did you act until you started like really focusing on your writing and getting something made into, shorts or movies?
I don't like that question because I don't want you to be like, oh, he did that, so it's okay for me to do that too.
No,
Honestly, it was
like to
like 9 years.
9 years? Okay, gotcha.
I had I was like a little egotistical with my acting back then when I was younger, in my early 20s.
Sure.
I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna write. I just want to act. And it's like, now I'm like, I've almost made acting secondary now.
Right.
I'm a director. I'm a producer. I'm a writer. And I don't even think of myself as just an actor anymore, even though I'm the star of this movie and so many more.
Right.
Because acting is just, I guess I've almost become, like, that's just something that is there always.
Right. It's just another
But
tool for you.
I really like the expanding and having control over my vision and understanding and really having a vision come to life.
Ah, okay. I see. Because, I think one of the things that makes you a really good director is you have been an actor and you know how to talk to actors. Because when I was in that scene with you and everything, we're sitting around and we have the the actors. Every take got better and better because the energy kept getting more and more and more built up, and I think that was really good because you have the director right there in the scene. So it was really kind of amazing how you didn't really tell anyone what to do. You just kind of pointed the energy, and they just took it from there.
That's cool that you saw that.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and it was. And I don't think I've been on many sets where the more takes it goes, the looser people feel. Usually, to a point, but then it starts going downhill.
I think it helped because this movie was improvised, and they started to get more comfortable with how the scene might play out, all that type of thing.
Yeah, and you could tell the actors were starting to get like the feel for each other, and their
everybody
cadences.
did so wonderful. Huh?
Oh man, it was so
you
cool.
included. You did great.
Thanks, dude.
Everybody did so great, man. I can't wait for the world to see all the talented people in this film.
Yeah, and if you guys want to make sure you see amazing acting, I was sitting there in the corner like this.
The
whole time.
He put the straight jacket. Oh, well, we don't want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
Well, oh fuck, I may have said too much right. No,
Yeah,
I said straight. That's fine. I'll say that. That's all good.
All right.
Yeah,
Next time you just say, Casey, stay in your lane. Come on, bro.
So yeah, I do want to talk more about your path in acting, kind of how you ended up in this, how you and I met.
Yeah. Well, so I guess the next thing would be I went to college, got my theater bachelor's in theater, and then I always grew up watching Brando. Brando was with a lot of actors love Brando, but one of the things was I'm reading the different styles of the acting techniques and stuff, and Stella Adler always stood out to me a lot. I liked her technique, and I could really see Brando was like one of the first. There's a lot of acting teachers, but Brando and Stella Adler at the same time, like you're kind of seeing her teaching work with Marlon Brando, and you can see with like the earlier films, the more and more he was studying with her, the better and better he got. And so I remember being like, okay, what's the hardest school that I can get into that would be most beneficial? And
Juilliard.
Juilliard, yeah, but Juilliard's full of a bunch of fucking pricks.
I wouldn't know. I'd never been to Juilliard.
I don't know shit about Juilliard either, but that was a little bit too expensive. So I do need to stay in my price range as well. But it's Stella Adler in New York, so I tried out for that, and I ended up going to New York, and so I lived there for about.
So you studied under Stella Adler?
Yeah, well, under her grandson technically, but at that.
What's his
school,
name?
Oh shoot, man! It's Steven something. I forget his last. It's not Adler. I forget his last name.
You don't even know the guy you studied under, bro?
I only had 2 classes with him. That's the thing. Is like when you go there and you're taking the conservatory, you have a bunch of different classes and stuff. You have to take your you have to take your film, you have to take your scene study, you have to take all that stuff and everything. And I ended up graduating from that conservatory, and then I got a scholarship out.
So you graduated from Stella Adler's Acting Academy or whatever.
Yeah, the Adler Studio in New York.
Okay.
And then I got a really unique opportunity, and I got a scholarship to go to the Gaiety School for Acting in Galway, in Ireland. And I'd always wanted to travel to Ireland, and I'd gone like on a week vacation there before, so I knew I liked it a lot. And Galway is just very chill and stuff. You gotta remember, 90% of the population of Ireland lives in Dublin. So like the rest of the country is very, very loosely.
Who's got to remember that? Because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I guess no one's got to remember it, but so I mean, it's just spread out as shit and everything.
Interesting. That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, it is an interesting fact, right? Because you wouldn't think.
90% of the population of Ireland is in Dublin.
Yeah, it's in Dublin. And
what the fuck?
Fucking nuts, right? Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what. So when I went out there, I was like, this is really cool. It's like because New York's great. Nothing against New York, but I'm a Kentucky boy. I like spread out shit. I don't like to be bunched up and everything. So
New York is like a slice of pizza.
How so?
That's it.
That's it. It's like a slice of pizza. I fucking love it, dude.
That's it.
Yeah, just covered in whatever you want. And
hey, man, it's a slice of pizza. Take it or leave it. You don't know where it came from.
Just don't ask.
Fucking slice of pizza.
Don't ask any questions. Just fucking eat it, right?
Just eat it, bro. And that's your New York.
I loved Galway, and I studied there for 6 months, and then I came back, and I was like, man, let's just let's go ahead and do this, because I thought I didn't want to be in theater anymore, and then I ended up moving out here and I got theater role after theater role after theater role after theater role.
So you're a stage actor.
I am a stage actor. Yes.
Interesting.
I'm a
That
film.
that explains why we haven't crossed paths up until recently on this film.
Yeah, because I wanted to do more and more film.
So
and,
what? Like how much film have you done?
so film, I think I've been in.
Now we're getting somewhere. I didn't know you were a stage actor.
Yeah. I've been in about a little over a dozen films.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of television when I was younger. You know, the extra roles in Chicago PD, in Walking Dead, and stuff.
You're not counting those as films because those
No,
are
no,
shows.
no. Those are just shows. No, films. I started with Secretariat because they shot that in Louisville, Kentucky, because that's where Churchill Downs is. And I was an extra in there, and then it moved more and more. I was in Judas and the Black Messiah. I don't know if you ever saw that one. That came out a few years ago, and I got to play an FBI agent in a scene with Martin Sheen. He plays J. Edgar Hoover in that. And then it just kind of, I was getting like extra parts and stuff, and then I put that on pause to move into my studies and everything. And that was really cool because when I studied at Stella Adler, they got to focus on film and stuff. And then when I went to Galway, that's where I got more of that classical training, like a lot of the British influence of being on stage and a lot of.
So you were doing stage, and you were booking like supporting and lead roles on stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you were doing extra and background work in film.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
dedication.
Well, I appreciate it, man, but it was really more like necessity at that point because I was just wanting to break into film. And when I moved out here, that's kind of what I realized was everyone's trying to get into film. So why not try and be different and go into stage? You're going to have a much better chance of, if you want representation or if you want someone to see you, being on stage is going to be talked about a lot more.
Who gave you that information?
That's just information that I have found out, from being out here, because you can do stuff where, I was booking, things where I'm a featured background character or something like that, and then going out for parts in theater and getting booked, as a lead in this and this and this and this. And that's where Z, who, great friend of ours, he and I worked together.
He co-directed this with me.
Yes,
He's
did.
co-directing it with me.
He's a great guy, great director too. And he was on stage with me. He and I worked together on Julius Caesar. And I got cast for that, and I got to play Caesar. And when that was in San Bernardino, and that was kind of nuts because my director, was saying, hey, why don't you go out and you can, send me an audition for Brutus and send me an audition for Mark Antony. And, just kind of for the hell of it, just send me an audition for Caesar too. Never thinking in a million years I'd get it. I actually kind of felt disappointed when he said, we'd like to offer you the title role of Julius Caesar. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. I was 24 at the time, so I thought there's no way.
How old are you now? 25?
25, yeah.
Oh my God. I usually say it as a joke. Really?
Yeah, no, I'm
Oh
25.
my God. Okay.
Why? What's up?
You can't make a reference and be like, oh, that was so long ago. I was 24 at the time. And
Yeah, I guess
that's
saying
like
at the
usually
time
the joke
makes
I make. People are like, yeah, I was like 19 at the time. I'm like, how old are you now? 20?
Yeah,
Like, that's the joke. And you just literally are that. That's funny.
yeah, so long ago, back in the day when I
Yeah.
was 24.
Okay, so 6 months ago when you booked this.
And yeah, I got to. That was really one of the first times where I really felt a lot of freedom because that character can't be encumbered by anything. You have to go on stage and absolutely feel like a badass. And I was able to bring a little bit of maturity that I didn't know that I had out. And, I kind of dyed my hair a little bit and stuff, but it was all in how I carried myself. And that was the first time, I think, really as an actor where I was completely living in the moment. And it's Shakespeare, so like you can't, it's very hard to feel free in Shakespeare, because you can't mess up and then just start kind of ad-libbing or anything, because it's just completely dependent on the actual dialogue that you have. And so I didn't think that I was capable of that, of being so dependent on the dialogue and actually knowing it well enough to feel like I was improvising. Because Shakespeare, I never got why it was such a big deal until I had an acting teacher say, that's why Shakespeare is so good, because when you see actors doing Shakespeare, people know the roles and they know the part, but each actor will do it differently, and you're watching them experience this story. And each actor will tell a different story using the same words. And so that was the first time I'd ever gotten to do that. And so since then, I've just been trying to do a little bit more film here and there. And that's what Z was nice enough to say, hey, you know, we're doing this thing, and it's on a show called Writer's Block, or this movie called Writer's Block. You know, would you mind coming in for a day? And I just had a fucking blast, man. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was a
so
fun
much
experience.
Yeah, it was.
Really great. Well, I gotta say, I didn't realize how freshly sprouted you are, how green I guess you are when it comes to film.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been doing stage for a while. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Stage is not something I did it once just to try it, and then I was like, all right, film. I'll go back to film. Film is more.
Do you mind if I ask the production?
Earl of Grey.
Earl of Grey. Oh wow. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was in Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, okay. Cool, man.
Yeah, that was back in what year are we in right now? 2024.
Yeah, I think so.
It must have been back in 2011.
Oh, okay.
2010.
So what do you think you enjoy more about film that you don't enjoy about stage?
I think I enjoy on film the constrained freedom, as weird as that sounds. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know on stage you have more freedom. There's no camera.
Right.
So you can move and do this but it's only one take.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's cool because when you're in the moment, it's all perfect.
right.
But with film, you know, you could get the best take. And not only that, but you could really, it's so calculated. They're like, okay, angles, this. It's so calculated that, yes, you're in that headspace longer and it's a little more detrimental to your psyche. But at the same time, you can really fall into it in a deep level and really, really convey emotions and feelings a lot deeper than I think on a stage, because you're not seeing the extreme close-up. You're not seeing that look in their eye. You're not seeing that.
You can be a lot more natural too on film. Like the stage, you're always going to be projecting to the farthest back
And
seats.
I like the fact, that's true. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can put stuff in there like imaginary stuff.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
if I want to fight a dragon in a movie, I can't do that on a stage.
That's the other thing is on film, you know, I guess the director and how you shoot it matters a lot too, because that's something it's hard to get used to is when you can't do the story from beginning to end. It's hard to get in the mindset of the character maybe in that moment, depending on, you know, the director you have
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, you know, have you ever worked on anything like that where it's been hard to get into it in the moment or
On film?
Yeah, on film.
No.
No.
I always find that you know, I do the amount of studies before I get to set that I need to do. I get comfortable with the character. I fall into the mental space. And there comes a point where I'm like, I can't do anymore.
Right.
I don't even always feel confident. But then every time it never fails. Every time I get on, like the day of, or like when I'm there on set, it all falls into place. It all just comes, and I'm just like, oh, this is it.
That's where it feels like magic.
It's just, I don't know what happens. As soon as I'm there, it's just boom.
Right.
You're there.
Well, like you said, you put the work in, you know, to be there in that moment, be present, you know?
Yeah.
But
like this guy is so much different than me.
yeah.
And I did my studies before.
Sure.
But I'm also directing and producing.
Sure.
And not that was a thing I was worried about, but like it was just like once I hit the set, I was still directing, but once it was my time to record, I was like, oh, whoa.
Right.
It just like, and at that point I was even directing. I was like, hold on. I mean, the fit, like he's very much like, that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow.
Like that's how he direct. I mean, that's how I was directing sometimes like that.
Right.
Because I was just in it. I was just Steven directing.
Right. Well, I mean, you can't go in and out of it like
I
that.
was. I am.
Right.
I mean, we're still doing the production stuff.
Right.
Now,
Well, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, I guess when you're backed into a corner like that, you have to have that work ready and everything. 'Cause now, I would imagine, is it easier to get into character if you are directing?
No.
No.
Well, actually, I don't. Honestly, it's like not even a thing I think about. I'm lucky. I don't know. It all felt really natural, if I'm going to be honest. It feels really natural doing this, starring and directing it. It feels really natural.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's hard.
And dude,
I like it.
I'm not blowing smoke either. It does take a special person to do that. You know?
Wow.
I know it really does.
I don't know. It just feels right and natural. Thank you for saying that. It's really nice of you.
Absolutely, man.
That's nice. But anyway, so I think it's really interesting that you took a path in stage because, you know, mine was completely the other opposite way.
Yeah.
And now that you're looking to kind of transition more into film, is it because you're over stage or what is it?
No, that was always the point, was to be on film, because it's like you said, it's so much more natural, and I like film because I find it more accessible to people, where stage is not, and there is a certain suspension of disbelief with everything, but especially with stage, that you know that you're not watching something that's really happening. However, in a film, you
can be convinced more and
yes.
fall into it, the fantasy world more.
Exactly. And that's what I kind of hate now, is like, you see how actors promote a movie or something and they'll have like, you know, here's Harrison Ford trying cookies from everywhere in the world. Here's him trying 10 different cookies, and they'll put that on the internet, and that somehow is promoting the movie. And actors have lost that mystique, and that, you know, you don't want to have an actor that you know so well that...
Are you saying Harrison Ford has lost his mystique?
No, sir. No, not at all.
Okay, what's happening here? What are we saying
I think
about our fellow actors here?
A lot of actors, when they'll go on, you know, and they'll be everywhere, you feel like you know them so well that when you see them portray a part, you know it's bullshit, or you know that they're not actually like that.
Like who, if you don't mind name? Actually, I don't know if you want to do
Let
that.
me go in the other direction. Back in the day, like Jack Nicholson, you didn't know him at all. And every time he came on a talk show, you know, that was a big deal because you didn't see him talk very often. And other than see him at
I get what you're saying.
You know, other than seeing him like wave at a Lakers game.
I get what you're saying. I think what you're saying is solely to blame on social media.
Yeah,
there is no privacy anymore.
No.
Nobody has any mysteriousness to them whatsoever.
Right.
Except for the people that choose to not partake in the social media and all that kind of thing.
Exactly. And then, you know, when you have an actor that you don't know that well, you can assign whatever you believe onto them. And like, you know, one of the guys I think who does it really well right now is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy has really not overexposed himself a lot or anything. We don't really know that much about his personal life. So when he plays a character, you're just going to believe it, whatever, you know, he does. However, there are some people like, you know, Chris Hemsworth is just such a nice guy that, you know, you see all this stuff that when he plays a bad guy, you're like, oh, I know he's not like that, you know, versus other people can really scare the shit out of you.
Does Chris Hemsworth play bad guys?
Yeah, he plays one in I think the new Furiosa movie, or the Mad Max movie.
Oh, he's a bad guy?
He's a bad guy, and then he played one where he played like a cult leader.
Is he believable as a bad guy? From what you're saying, it doesn't sound like it.
You know, I've seen clips of it and stuff, and to me, it comes off as more of like a comical bad guy.
Is that what he's going for?
I don't think so. One perfect example, Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. I had no idea.
You can't compare.
Well, but you had no idea
Hemsworth
who he was.
That's
true. That's true.
Are you out of your fucking mind, dude?
A little bit.
You are crazy talking. Holy shit!
But like, you didn't know who the fuck Christoph Waltz is, so when he comes in, you know, and a squirrel can do it the same thing, and you know, he's spitting that out. He's scary as shit because you've never seen him before, so you only know him as.
But then he tried to do it again in Mission Impossible, and we're like, we've seen this before.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. However, I thought in Django he did a good job of kind of taking it and turning it the other way.
Excellent in Django.
Now you can go get the marshal. Like, it's fucking
excellent
great.
In Django.
But yeah, you know, I think a lot of mystique has been lost with actors, and like I want to keep that in my career of having mystique there and not talking about, like, I don't want to talk about if I have kids or something when I'm promoting a movie. Has nothing to do with the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk about my wife. I don't want to talk about my relationship or whatever. I'll talk about the movie, you know? And I think that is just coming from a pure respect that I have for our
your
industry.
own privacy as well.
As well, yeah, for sure.
But I see what you're saying about the keeping the mysticism.
Yeah, and that's
alive.
got nothing against the actors. They have to do that now.
Yeah.
You know, they have to. But yeah, I don't think one thing that I've become frustrated with is I'm a fucking caveman, so I did not have Instagram until about 5 months ago, and I had to get that for my career because you
What
won't.
they look at.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous that you. Now I understand it from a business standpoint, but I mean, come on, you shouldn't have to look at how many.
Your social media popularity should not be based on your merit of professionalism
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
your talent.
Yeah, and I think there are some people who like
A lot of idiots are talented. I mean,
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of idiots have a lot of followers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just because they keep putting stuff. And I think that now it's kind of going the other way. Like, I think people kind of are trying to find that, like, we don't really have cult classics anymore that come out. Like
We
don't,
got one coming.
Well, we don't. I don't know if it's going to be a cult classic. I think it's just going to be a classic, man.
Yeah, I don't know about cult.
Yeah.
I don't know about cult. It's
Well,
a classic.
Now, see,
The next one we're doing is potential for a cult classic.
yeah, well, I mean, you do have the Jared Leto thing down. So, I mean, you could start your own cult.
I
you
could.
know? Yeah, you could.
This is the Parlor, and we are popping Casey's podcast cherry, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now that being said, Casey, this was a great podcast.
I loved it, man.
I think it might be a good spot to end.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have you back in the future. Maybe we won't. I think we should keep that up to mystery.
Absolutely.
Like, you want to stay a mystery, right?
That sounds good.
So we'll keep that to mystery if you're going to come back or not. How about that?
An enigma wrapped in a riddle. We'll keep it right there.
There you go. So that being said, without further ado, Casey, get the fuck out
Yes, sir.
and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it, dude.